Behind the Shades.
How did you come to how did you come to that point in your life where you're like, I'm comfortable with me. I don't need other people around to be as comfortable?
It was quarantine. I actually have recently written an article for a digital magazine about um, introversion and how I discovered it. But it was quarantine, and you know, I'll post the article, so I won't dive into it too much. But um, I am a born into Christianity. I'm a pastor's kid, born into Pentecostalism. I'm the oldest of four girls, born 2 years apart. Come from a singing family, both sides. Come from a preaching family, both sides. So I was definitely shaped, if you will, for always being in front, always leading out front, speaking out front. And so my life up until quarantine was very, 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 very social. And then quarantine happened. And so quarantine didn't make me an introvert. Quarantine introduced me to my introverted self. Um, I did not know, because of how I had been, again, molded, that I was an introvert. Soon as that quarantine button was pushed, introversion knocked on my door, introduced itself, and I embraced it immediately. And that let me know this is who I've always been. It wasn't a struggle. I didn't have to adjust, nothing. I was happy. And I was like, where did this come from? How have I been missing it all this time? And so, yeah, it was quarantine that let me know this is who I am, and this is where I'm powered and empowered. I feel more empowered as an introvert than I ever have as a leader.
Do you
It's
think
crazy.
sometimes that, like, if I take myself and I say that I'm a social person similar to you, going out, enjoying the company of others, and then we're putting a situation like many of us over the last few years, right, where it's like you need to learn to stay at home. Was there a little bit of a struggle in the beginning? You're trying to figure it out, or is it something along the lines of saying that I kind of like this,
It
I
was
can
like
do this?
I kind of like this and I could do this. I literally learned that I could go. I don't think I went more than 3 days, but there were segments of quarantine that I could go 2 and 3 days without speaking, literally. So it was like, this is powerful. It was meditative. I think that's a word. And so actually today you're the second person I've spoken to, and maybe the last person I speak to today. Um, lots of I should say I have great quality friendships and relationships. And for some reason a lot of us are the same. We don't, we don't, everybody's quiet. And so we are having conversations intentionally, not just, for no reason. And so if there isn't something to talk about, we aren't calling each other, you know. If there's not something to do, we aren't reaching out to each other. And so, if it's to just check in, I talked to a friend today who traveled, and I'd been meaning to check in with her and make sure she got back okay. That was the reason I called. Versus, girl, what you doing? Eh, you know. So, so yeah, uh, I like it. It reveals. I'm trying not to get into the article, but one of the funnest experiences is the revelation of wisdom that comes out of silence. And so Don't get me wrong, in the moment of silence, you may not hear any kind of wisdom. No wisdom may be revealed, but I can trace wisdom back to silence. When wisdom is revealed, I can trace it back to moments of silence, where wisdom is birthed. Planted. Wisdom is planted, but then birthed later. And so that's probably one of the funnest things. I think the second is the gift of observation. Again, a friend and I were talking. We were talking about Will Smith and Chris Rock, and I just don't have a lot to offer. I don't have a lot of opinion. Just observation. These people live in worlds unknown to me. And so because of that, I think it's important to observe, but I'm also grateful that I have the ability to observe, just to be quiet. That has really been a big thing for me this year for a lot of reasons, especially spirituality and wisdom. Oh my gosh. I mean, every platform, every person who has a platform has something to say about their disdain for Christianity, and Christianity has a platform to talk about their disdain for Beyonce, and it's just constant back and forth, and it's just like, is anybody gonna just be quiet? So that's kind of where I've been lately.
I had a conversation with one of my neighbors today, and it highlights what you just said about being quiet. We're just talking, and he was giving me all these facts, similar to like how you mentioned that Will Smith and Chris Brown. He's throwing all these things out there, and each time he says something, I'm like, "Oh, really? That did happen?" And then he stops, and he's like, "Do you not watch the news?" I'm like, "No, I'm unplugged. I don't have cable." He was like, I was like, "You'll be surprised how more positive, how happier the world looks when you remove yourself from these situations." Because he was talking about this person was shot, this person was robbed, this person died, this person of this background is fighting this person of this background. And I had no idea what he was talking about. It wasn't like I was oblivious to the world. I understand the workings of the world. But the news that he was talking about, I turned around, I told him, you, for the 10, 15 minutes of this conversation, you haven't told me anything about you, but what you talk about is telling me so much about you.